Okay, sound test. All right, I think we're good. So, yeah, welcome everyone for another stream of Tatweba, so stream number 11 today. So there's one small thing I'll talk about first, which is just to give you some updates about basically what is changing in Tatweba in the website itself. But then the major part of the stream is going to be on the topic of inappropriate sentences and inappropriate behavior. So let's start with what's coming next. So I'm not sure yet if this is something I'll be able to deploy today actually, because sitting down and writing my thoughts on the topic of inappropriate behavior, and yeah, this topic is a little bit time consuming, so we'll see what we can do. But among the few things that, the couple of things that are coming in the next Tatweba updates is first of all a small fix regarding the language Algerian Arabic, where I've talked about it in the last stream, where in some cases we have the possibility, I mean, people will write either with a script that is the Arabic script or the Latin script, which is yeah, one is right to left and the other is left to right. So here in this case we see that this is the Latin script, but it's displayed as if it was right to left, as if it was Arabic. And so it's just a fix so that it detects automatically the script and displays it properly. So that's the first thing, minor fix for Algerian Arabic. And the second thing is a little bit more of a big thing, and that's why I'm not sure if I'll do it today or maybe if I delay to have a bit of peace of mind. But this is about the language Tokipoda, which at the time we added this language, it was not part of this ISO standard that we rely on to decide whether or not we support the language. But yeah, because we didn't have these whole policies back then, when we added Tokipona, we didn't really know, okay, what standard should we follow? We didn't really look into that. So we just added basically any language that was requested. And for this language, we didn't have, there was no ISO code for it. We still added it, and we had our own, we created our own code, which was a 4-letter code, Toki. And yeah, we learned recently that the institution organization that takes care of defining this ISO standard accepted Tokipona as an official language, and so we have an official language code now, which is not this Toki 4-letter code, but just TOK. And yeah, this is going to be the small change, which normally has really no impact. I mean, people will still be able to add sentences. The main impact is if maybe somebody is using the Tatweba corpus and is relying on the language code for whatever reason, there will be kind of a breaking change there, because the code will become TOK instead of Toki. But yeah, so we'll try to deploy that and we'll see how it goes, but maybe not today again. Today we're going to talk about some bigger topics. So hi everyone who's watching. I guess not so many, but hello. Okay. So that's for what's coming in the next release, so either today or maybe tomorrow. And after that, I can maybe already share some plans of the next changes that will come. So as I've said in my last stream, main priority for anything that is related to changes in Tatweba, my main priority is to take care of the pull requests. So we have at least 2 pull requests that I can say it's likely to be the next things we include in the source codes. The first one is about, again, a minor thing, or maybe not so minor in some situations. I guess it depends how you see it. But it's about users' data, and yeah, there was one bug that was reported about how if you try to delete your profile picture, it would display, instead of the profile picture, it would display former member, as if you were no longer a member of Tatweba. And so yeah, there's a bug with that, and while investigating this bug, so our developer here, Yorbar, so not our developer in terms of official staff of Tatweba, but one of the people who has contributed and keeps contributing to the Tatweba code base, he has detected some issues related to that code, and so that's one thing that will come next that we can fix. And the other thing is about the terms of use. So we've removed Google Analytics. Yeah, and there was, so Tatweba, now if you visit Tatweba, you're not tracked anymore by Google Analytics. And it's just, now it's inconsistent with the terms of use, because in our terms of use, we mentioned somewhere that we use Google Analytics. So it's all about removing that part of the code, but then there's a whole process of whenever the terms of use gets edited, there's a whole process that we try to follow, which is at least to inform the users that there has been a change. Yeah, and so yeah, there is a pull request about that. So those are 2 of the possible next things, not in the next release, but the one after. Right, so that's for the Tatweba update. Now we can dive into the main topic of today, which is inappropriate sentences, or in general, what kind of content do we allow in Tatweba. So a couple of weeks ago, so that was, here's the thread for stream number 9, I shared some thoughts on this topic, and so yeah, the whole problem here that we have is that obviously the people have all kinds of beliefs, all kinds of experience in life, all kinds of things that they can use to write sentences, but sometimes they will write sentences that will agitate or make some people uncomfortable, right? So basically offensive sentence, insults, racism, hate speech is the one that comes up a lot lately, but there has been also pornographic sentences. So all these kinds of things that, yeah, is a little bit politically difficult. So when I shared my thoughts on that stream, let's say these were more unfleshed thoughts, of like they were not very organized. I didn't really have time to sit down and clearly think about things and try to present my insight in an organized way. So these were just more like a random talk. But today I'd like to provide something, yeah, a little bit more organized and like more elaborate on this topic, which also, which will also include the broader topic, which is the code of conduct. Because at the end of the day, I think that what we allow in the corpus is really just about the code of conduct. It's about, have these sentences been added in good faith, or really is there a problematic behavior there that resulted in the submission of the sentences. So first of all, let's go to the technical, not the functional part, let's say, and remind everyone how Tatweba works. So technically, we allow everything. That's how Tatweba works. Tatweba allows everything in the corpus. And I mean everything in the sense where technically anyone can register with fairly minimal effort. We don't really have like a quiz, or we don't like make you go through interviews to be able to contribute to Tatweba. You just have to fill up a form, and then you are registered, and then you can start going to this page here, and you can enter basically everything, anything that you want to add, right? It can be really, there is no restriction on what sets of characters you can add here. Now, if we want to be very, very specific, there are some very, very technical things that we check. So I can show you the code just for the sake of it, even if you don't understand. But we have this bit of code where there will be some removal of certain characters, like very technical stuff, like a space at the beginning of or at the end of the strings. So things that don't really impact like the content itself of the sentence, like very technical things. But we do have something that tries to normalize a little bit the input. But yeah, this is nothing about the content itself, it's more technical things. Right, and so what distinguishes those is, again, to explain, yeah, if I would start here the sentence and I enter a space, and then I type something, and then I enter 3 space, so every space at the beginning, every space at the end would be automatically removed. So this is the kind of processing that we do. But again, as you can see, nothing about the content. So besides of these rules here, which are very technical rules, there is no like mechanism that is, you know, embedded into the system itself. There is nothing that stops you from adding all kinds of sentences. And yeah, and so this is still a problem that, of course, we have faced now for you know, it emerged pretty early in the history of Tatweba, and the idea of what kind of sentences should we accept and what kind of sentences we should not accept. This is like at least a 12-year-old topic. So there is a blog post, if I can open the page. There is actually a blog post. Apparently I cannot copy. I think I have. I think I need to change my keyboard because some keys are not responding properly anymore. So there is a blog post from almost 12 years ago about what kind of content do we want in Tatweba. And I mean, to be honest, I think this blog post was not published in the context of what we have today, where we are experiencing more, you know, politically incorrect sentence. But I think it started mostly with the question of what if we have sentences that are not really, you know, the typical subject, verb, complement kind of sentence. What if we have sentences that are just one word? Do we accept that? Do we not accept that? What if we have sentences that are like a line of a lyric of a song? Do we accept, like, it's not really a full sentence? Do we accept that or not? So this was, if I remember, it was really written in that context rather than the context of do we accept provocative sentences and that kind of thing. So, but yeah, I just wanted to go through a little bit what we have here, so that maybe also to refresh, I mean to see if everything still stands this day, and probably not everything, but yeah, the main point is that by default in Tatweba we tend to be more on the open-minded side, so we try to be to accept as much as we can. This doesn't mean, however, that we accept everything. This doesn't mean that we don't have boundaries. We have obviously boundaries, but these boundaries, they are not defined by the source code. They are defined by the community, and these boundaries, they are not fixed. They change over time, because over time the situation changes and we have to adapt. So back when this article was written, for instance, having like being flooded by, political sentences or highly religious, like propaganda kind of sentences, this was not a problem back then, right? And I guess this day a little bit more, because obviously the community grew, the amount of contributor grew, there's more people, and at some point obviously there will be people who will just do their thing, let's say. So yeah, but the basic, the fundamental idea is that we want to be as open-minded as possible in what we accept, because yeah, language is not all, roses and rainbows. It can be like very nasty things sometimes, and we cannot like just reject a whole range of vocabulary just because it's not nice, right? It's still language, and we are not here, like Tatweba is not a project that is dedicated to a specific group of people who are like maybe 10-year-old school students who try to learn for the first time a language. It's a very broad project who is aimed at a very broad audience, and so what we want to do is recapture languages on its whole, and so just deleting everything that would contain like obscene language, it doesn't make sense. Now, of course, it's not like we will just accept like 10 billion sentences which is about racism or misogyny or like hate speech or sexual content. Like it doesn't mean that. Of course, we have to find the right balance, and yeah, so over the years I guess people kind of abused this mindset, this initial mindset that we had at the beginning, where we are trying to be open-minded, but then it feels like some people don't really know where this stops, right? Like at which point is it too much, the kind of content that I'm writing, at which point it's too much of political incorrectness, it's too much of sexual content, it's too much for the rest to handle. And so yeah, we've seen over the years a bit of a rise of cases that just are troublesome for the community as a whole. And yeah, and it makes people tired. Obviously, it makes also me tired, but that is life. Now, one thing we could ask ourselves is, how can we try to prevent inappropriate sentences? Because obviously that's how people are. It's not going to stop just because we talk about it. There will be at some point new people joining and who might not be entirely aware of the whole situations, and who might have very strong opinions about what Tatweba should be about, and who will just contribute the way they want to contribute. Yeah, what can we do to like reduce this amount of unwanted contributions? So if we go back to the thread of the last stream, so there was actually a suggestion from Paul Gar here. So yeah, I was basically in during that stream, I was just sharing thoughts. I was saying, if you have any ideas on how we can handle that, you feel free to share, because we don't really have like we don't really have let's say a fixed strategy for that, and we're still open to ideas. Even though this is a 10-year-old topic, it's not a topic that, I don't think it's a topic for which we have an ultimate answer. I guess it will have to be things we experiment over the years, and we maybe have a set of tools that we can do, like some things we will figure out, but it's never, I don't think we can ever come up with a perfect algorithm of, if this then we do that. It's gonna have to be most of the time case by case. But the suggestion here was about kind of reversing, I guess, how Tatweba works at the moment, which is that instead of allowing everything by default, we kind of don't allow things, but the sentences that are added, they would have first to be verified in order to be integrated into the official corpus. So that's obviously one possibility, but from here, the issue that I see right away is who will verify the sentences, right? And you know, it can't be just one person, because it's not possible. You would have to talk all the languages in the world. It can't be just one person per language, because, you know, sometimes there's just too much. And also, what if people disagree with each other, right? So even if there is a step of verifications, like there is still, after that, you just delay the problem, right? So if we don't verify at all, yes, there might be sentences that get added that will agitate the community, but then those sentences, if they are not agitating like the more broad part of the community, they will still agitate the part of the community that takes care of the verification. So yeah. And second thing I want to maybe point out that this mechanism of having verifications, this has been attempted before. So I've actually talked about it in one of my streams, where I was able to run the source code of old versions of Tatweba, and I showed this, what I call the version 1 of Tatweba. And in that version, it was actually set up in that way. It was set up in the way that before a sentence would go into the official space, it would have to be validated by a moderator. And this was like, it was not very smooth. It was not very smooth. I mean, because I was one of the people who would validate. What I ended up realizing is that there is a lot of sentences. I mean, 90%, 99% even of the sentences that I was looking at, they were fine. Like, I could just blindly click OK, and 99 of the times it would be completely fine. And so it felt just like extra effort that is not just worth it. It was not worth to put this special barrier when most of the content submitted is in the end fine. So yeah. If we had a different situation where, you know, like really we have, I don't know, 50% of the content which is like should be put into the trash, then it would make sense to implement Tatweba, to have this validation. validation step. But as of today, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but as of today, I feel like we're still completely fine. Like still 90%, at least 90% of the sentences that are added, they are fine. There might be sometimes spikes of, you know, somebody adding like 50 sentences at once, which are questionable, but you know, these are very sporadic events. Like this happens very on a small window of time, and it's not really something that is spreading through the whole corpus. So I would say it's not a completely invalid idea, but not suitable for the situation that we have right now. I think it would make things too bureaucratic, probably, for what it's worth. Yeah, but I mean, starting from this idea, obviously, so I'm just sharing some ideas right now of things we could do. I mean, yeah, it could be that one day we have to resort to it. Hopefully not, but it could be that one day we have to resort to just closing the doors and just having verifying everything before it gets into the final corpus. But yeah, verifying one by one each sentence is not very realistic either. Even though you could say, okay, we don't have that big of an amount of sentences per day, we still do have at least 1,000, sometimes 2,000 and a half. So we can actually see it from here. So yeah, sometimes it can go up above 3,000. So you can look at this these statistics here, this timeline, and you can kind of browse. So sometimes there will be a bit of spam of bot activity here, but yeah. So it's not, let's say, in terms of yeah, if somebody wants to spend half of their day just monitoring sentences and accepting or refusing, maybe, but I think for this amount, verifying the sentence case by case doesn't make too much sense, and it probably makes a bit more sense if we check on at a user level. So basically, I mean, the idea is that, let's say, you know, we have a new user, they have been adding sentences, and if we had this verification system, I'm just, for 100 sentence, I'm going to say, okay, that's fine. I can click 100 times, but then, you know, as I click more and more for the same user, and I know, okay, this user is going to contribute things that are fine. I don't see why I have to verify all of the sentence. So in that sense, you know, it makes a little bit more, it's more practical, it's more efficient if you know, there was some sort of trial period for the contributors. It could be like for a few weeks or for a certain amount of contributions. Sure, there will be a bit of monitoring. People will have to check, maybe based on certain conditions, like how long have they registered, since how long have they been registered, and how much have they contributed. Based on maybe those two criteria or maybe other things, we can say, okay, until they have reached a certain threshold, everything that they contribute still goes into some sort of draft space, some sandbox, some place which is kind of separate from the official corpus, and like, yeah, the sentences in there can be verified, and people who are already trusted can go and check, okay, this is okay, so it goes. And if they notice like harmful behavior from the contributor, then yeah, then simply this contributor never gets to contribute to the official corpus. So it's a possibility, and you know, it's like, it's a trial period for new contributors. It makes sense. I think. But again, back to the same reasoning as before. It rarely happens that a contributor causes trouble. It's like probably most of the people who register and add sentences, they are like over 90% of the time they are okay. Maybe they don't know, let's say they don't meet the standards in terms of, caring about the punctuation, and like maybe they might not be aware that we kind of prefer, well-structured sentences over like just like 3 words, like part of a sentence and just part of an extra, like a dictionary entry basically. So that is not really what we want in Tatweba. So these kind of things that people, newcomers may not be aware of. But yeah, most of the time we don't have enough problematic new members that we really need to put this additional barrier. So it wouldn't be a bad thing, I think, actually, like not in terms of inappropriate sentences, but more in terms of, it's not always, it can be a bit stressful if you just join the project and you realize, oh, whatever I create here, it gets published right away. Maybe it makes some people uncomfortable, maybe it makes some people hesitate more about writing their first sentences, and so having this space where people can afford to do things the wrong way, it wouldn't be a bad thing at all, like to have a training ground. But having this system in place, I think it doesn't solve the problem that we have about inappropriate sentences. So yeah. Now, alternatively to checking the sentences, checking the users, like validating sentences, validating users, we could also think of just having general rules that will reject sentences. So we can think of all kinds of criteria. So as you could see, I showed earlier this piece of code where we would automatically remove some characters, but we can of course elaborate rules that are more complex, not just if there's this character then remove it. We could have rules like if this user has already added 10 sentences with the word fuck, then reject any future sentences that they add if it contains the word fuck. Like we could add this kind of rules, and obviously it doesn't have to be the word fuck, it doesn't have to be 10. Like we can make all kinds of rules. But here again, I'm not sure if it solves anything, because, well, I mean, it could, okay, if we were, yeah, it could solve something if, again, it was a problem that we systematically have people who try to spam Tatweba with sentences, that we can detect easily with easy rules. But at the end of the day, it's more of a behavioral problem, and like we don't solve this by just adding more rules and more rules to just prevent this content from being added. And who knows, maybe we create a rule that will unfairly reject something that would be completely valid. So we're not at a stage where we are being flooded by inappropriate sentence, where we need to put in place certain rules. But again, it's an idea. If we ever get there, it's a possibility that we could have. And if you think, yeah, if anybody here listening thinks, okay, we are Trang, you are wrong, we are in a situation where this is not manageable, then yes, we can then just show me, just send me what are the recent sentences that that have been added and that should have been stopped, and yeah, we can maybe think of putting things in place, but I don't think we are there. So yeah, in general, I guess you got the idea that most of these ideas, I mean, they are not bad ideas, but overall they are not worth the effort, really, because we don't. This is not such a huge problem that we need to put effort into changing how the system works, like how the features work, and especially that we already have mechanisms in Tatweba which which allows us to handle problematic sentences and problematic behavior. But it's not perfect, obviously it's not perfect, but I think it's enough for what we have. Now, if you want to have something better, unfortunately, I would say this is not my priority because there are other topics I think are much more important, but it's still a topic that annoys me, and I wished we could do something better here to avoid having regular drama in the community about whether it's hate speech or whether it's, I don't know, even punctuation. If you want to like get involved and try to make Tatweba evolve to provide a better environment, and that would handle all of these problematic sentences better, then please be my guest, and I'll do my best to support you for sure. But yeah, it's not, for me, it's not something that we need urgently to tackle, and I think whatever we have currently as features, it is more than enough to handle the amount of contributions that we have to be able to keep things like not going downhill. And yeah, for me, in fact, like the most important, I think, is more about creating a culture and like establishing norms, like making people understand what are the boundaries, because at the end of the day, I think when people add this kind of contributions, it's mostly that there is some sort of maybe disagreement, or maybe there is just a conflict of interest in some way, but it's just what they want to do does not fit what Tatweba as a whole can support. And maybe there is a misunderstanding there, or maybe there is like too high expectations, or maybe there is some entitlement, but there is something wrong here, and it's not something that we really solve by changing like the features of Tatweba, but I guess it's more about the culture that we create. And so that's more of a community work at the end of the day, right? So yeah. Actually, one thing I wanted to mention before I move on. So okay, as we're talking about things we can do, so obviously when I posted that I will talk about the content we should accept in the corpus and the code of conduct. So some people also feel strongly about this topic, and there was a proposal here, so I just want to address this this proposal here, which says there should be an easy and evident way to report offensive sentences for deletion. Whether a user comes across, whenever a user comes across a sentence they want to be deleted, they can report it and it will be deleted. That's all. The most important thing, no arguments needed, no discussion, the sentence will be gone without any trace. So that's the proposal, and so the part where I guess I agree with is definitely it should not be too difficult to figure out how to report. I mean, if we don't want to make people think that we accept everything, that's for sure. So people need to know that there is a way to report offensive, inappropriate content in general. But the thing is with this proposal is that if we reach the point where we need such a feature, then I think implementing the feature doesn't really solve the root of the problem. Like if we're at the point where we need to sacrifice communication and transparency to clean up the corpus, then we've missed, like we've messed up something in creating a healthy community. And so at this point, the question is not how do we industrialize the deletion of inappropriate sentence. So how do we detect like faster inappropriate content? But I think at this point, it's rather about how do we change the general toxic behavior, and just having a button where people can report is not going to help if all we do is delete and we don't try to have any sort of confrontation to see if like people can change or not. So yeah, again, I don't disagree that having a clear and easy way to report sentences can provide better user experience, and there is actually a ticket about this, about adding some buttons somewhere. Could make sense, but at this point, yeah, I think maybe there's other easier ways we can do that, and yeah, the point is absolutely not to to encourage some happy trigger behavior where, you know, whenever you're unhappy about a sentence, you report and then it gets deleted. No, I think we should still think about things more on a case by case, and we should still try to be as open-minded as possible. Like, you might feel offended at some point, but you know, it could be that you yourself had a bad day, or it could be that the other person had a bad day, and this can be resolved in other ways than this. You know, it's like you're going to mom and dad when like you have a fight with your siblings. So there, sometimes things can be resolved in other ways. Doesn't have to be escalated all the time. And having a button that is too easy to access like this, maybe it encourages a little bit too much escalation when there is no need of escalation. We still want the community to act overall as adults and to learn to solve conflicts within each other before they escalate to the admins. All right, but so that being said, I want to go through the tools that we have within Tatweba to deal with inappropriate content. So as I said, yeah, I think at this stage we don't really need to implement anything new for the amount of inappropriate content that we have, which is overall, you know, just it comes in phases punctually, but it's like it's not a trend, let's say. And so what tools do we have? First of all, we have a role that is called admin. And admins can do a lot of things. And one of the things admin can do, I mean, the ultimate things that admins can do is to suspend a user, or if you want, to ban a user. So the user is no longer able to log in with their account. So that's maybe the very end of the spectrum. But so we have people who are admin and who can have some sort of influence on how people behave, because yeah, they can just remove your access to Tatweba. They can say, okay, that's enough, we can't handle you anymore, we don't allow you to contribute anymore. So they can do that. Now, one thing you should be aware of is that not everyone who is marked like this as admin will be a community admin. So for legacy reasons, there are some people, if I have to name, so Cisco and Yori, so they are not community admins. So if you want to really get in touch with the community admins, those who will do something about bad behavior, there's actually a special account that is called Tatweba admins that lists who are the admins. And I think I have to go get some water because my voice is a bit. Okay, so so yeah, so there's this account, and basically this is the admins who will take care, who will handle any sort of problematic content or problematic behavior. Now, the next thing to know is that not everyone in this list has the same involvement when it comes to community management. So, for instance, our main community manager, who usually, her main role is to evaluate and to grant the role of advanced contributor or corpus maintainer for people who want to get more involved into the corpus. But she's also the one who is the most involved when it comes to people having a fight and trying to calm down the situation. So yeah. So we have admins, and the fact that in this system we have admins, we have a way to leverage like bad behavior to make people understand that they are going a bit too far. So the most efficient way to report bad content, like inappropriate content, is to directly get in touch with the community admins. So either by private message, which is, you can send a private message, and the second option is to also, in case for some reason you use Tatoeba but you don't have an account because you never felt the need to have an account, but you still find once in a while sentences that you feel should not be part of the corpus, you can also send an email to community-admins@tatweba.org. And to be honest, you could also, so if somebody is absolutely not aware that we have this group of people who are doing community admin job, you could also just go to the contact us and write to the team at tatweba.org here. So that's also a possibility. And so as far as I'm concerned, I receive emails from both email addresses. And so if something is sent to the team at tatweba.org that is about troubles in the community, I will forward it to the community admins. So that's the first tool that we have is we have admins, and people can contact admins when they are not happy with the situation. Now the thing is that many new members won't necessarily know that. So what new members could probably do, and that's the second, so that's another part of the tools, is if we go to, let's go to one of my sentences. So let's say you find a sentence that you feel is inappropriate. You have, as a member of Tatweba, you have this box here, which is a box where you can post a comment, and obviously with this, it's one way for you to express. I mean, you have the right to say, okay, I think this comment is not, this sentence is not appropriate and should be deleted. So that's, let's say, that's another channel where people can report and where we can detect inappropriate content. But I would say that's probably not my recommendation to use it too much, and especially so when you post a comment, obviously it's going to be public, and so it's going to drag more attention. And the second thing is, it makes the situation, compared to just contacting the community admins in private, it makes the situation different for the author of the sentence. So yeah, if you are going to use the comments, really my recommendation is avoid writing in the comments that, avoid writing a comment like something like at Tatweba admins, this is, I don't know, this is hate speech, please delete. So this type of comments, I think I would put them into bad practice, because yeah, this is only putting more more oil into the fire. This is just going to make people more angry. I mean, or at least the person who created the sentence, and maybe who felt this is a legit sentence that should be accepted in Tatweba, this is just going to trigger frustration or anger or something. But yeah, so if you are using comments, I think from my recommendation is more that you try to understand, or at least you question why did you add this sentence. Like, I feel it's a little bit, you explain how you feel about the sentence, and then you give the chance to the contributor to explain why they added it. And so they have the chance to understand, okay, this is a sentence that maybe makes some people uncomfortable, and they have the chance to think about, well, yeah, should I actually keep this sentence or not? Should I change it a little bit or not? So somebody in the chat is saying maybe the @moderation tag could be useful for reporting problematic sentences. And yes, so tags is another thing. I'll come to it in a moment. But yeah, so using comments is one way to report and to detect inappropriate content, but it can lead to more drama than just sending a private message. And obviously you don't want to like spam comments on 100 sentences, like to say this is hate speech, please delete, this is hate. Like, you don't want to do this like 100 times because that's kind of spamming, right? So comments one way, but it's not always the most appropriate way to the most appropriate tool that you would have in your hands to deal with inappropriate content. So the next thing, and that is, if there is not just one sentence, but like, let's say you are browsing sentences of one contributor, and so you're on this page and you notice, okay, there's a lot of these sentences that are not very nice. What you can do is, so we have actually a special view which initially was made for if you wanted to translate the sentences of a certain user, so that you easily have access to the translate button for every sentence, as opposed to here where all you can do is read. So So yeah, we have a view where you can have access to all the menu of the sentence, and what you can do if you are just a regular contributor is you can add the sentence to a list. So you can create your own list. So here I could add it to this list. So you can create your own list, but you can go through each sentence. So add to the list. So once you click here, it's added, and you can continue that for every sentence that you think, okay, that's bad. So you can do that, and then you can just go to your list. So you go to your list. Make sure though that it's at least unlisted, so that you can copy the link and then find the Tatweba admins here, and you contact them by private message, and you send the link and you say, hello, there's a bunch of sentences that I found that are not very nice. Here they are. Can you have a look? And yeah, so that's one way when you have to deal with a larger amount of inappropriate content. But yeah, obviously you'd still have to manually go through the steps of contacting the admins, either by private message, or you can also send an email, of course. But list is one way, tags is another way, but tags are only accessible to advanced contributors, and also they are not so practical to use. But yeah, you could have a tag and say, okay, this is well, somebody's suggested the tag add moderator, so this tag doesn't exist yet by default, but like technically I can just enter it and it gets added. So you can also, if you have access to tags, possibly you could use tags. It's probably less practical than using list, in my opinion, because yeah, you would have to go to the sentence page of each sentence and add the tag. Now, the difference with the tags is that it's a little bit more, so it's a little bit the same as posting a comment, but I guess it's a little bit more sneaky than posting a comment, because the author of the sentence doesn't receive a notification when their sentences get tagged, and so there's less risk of starting a fight. But yeah, nonetheless, it's still a public information, so anybody else who comes after will see the tag, and yeah, you could. So I'm not sure if I would totally recommend to use tags, because yeah, it can also, I mean, somebody can still bring their unhappiness to the wall and start a very long discussion on the wall. So if you want to avoid unnecessary drama, maybe tags is not the best. But nonetheless, in some situations, I can see that it can appease people, at least to see that there is a recognition that the sentence is not entirely fine and that is questionable. So yeah, I guess you would have to kind of evaluate by yourself the situation, looking who exactly is the author of the sentence, and if you know what kind of character they are, maybe you decide to not post a tag but to just contact the admins in private, and in some other case you might decide to post the tag. That's really, there's no correct answer here. But so the tags, and the last thing that is even more minimal efforts compared to list, I would say, is to use the rating feature. So I don't know if I have it activated. Yeah, I do. But so let me show you. If you go to your settings, you have the option over here, the first one, to activate the feature to review sentences, and you need to have this checked here in order to see those buttons over here. But if you have those buttons over here, then it's fairly simple if you feel something is inappropriate, you can also, I mean, it's one quick way to list. And I mean, technically, you don't have to do it. I mean, this you cannot. It doesn't have to be from the page of the sentences of a user, but like, let's say you have a search, so random search, I'll search friends. Yeah, and so from here, you have also, so you can, with this button, you can expand so that every sentence has the menu expanded, and from here you could quickly browse through each sentence and click on not okay on whichever sentences you feel is inappropriate. So the feature in itself, initially, this rating feature, it was more meant to report, or like to mark sentences which are like grammatically incorrect, like linguistically incorrect. But at the end of the day, we made the wording kind of vague, I guess, in purpose, in a way, so that people can decide of their own way what is actually okay, what is not okay. So if you want to restrict yourself to marking okay only sentences that are grammatically okay and not okay sentences that are not grammatically okay, then you can do it that way. But if you want to use this feature as a way to mark not okay anything that you yourself personally you think it should not be in the corpus, then you can use that button for that purpose as well. But same thing, after you've marked all of them, you would still have to contact the community admins to let them know, well, I've been browsing a bunch of sentences and I've seen because during one of my search I've seen many sentences that I feel should not be part of the corpus. And so you can use this mechanism to list them somewhere quickly, and then when you have, so I'll just add one for the purpose of example, but probably I have other already in my list. So you can then go to there's a special page where you can see all your sentences that have been marked with the not okay status, and you can send this link basically up here to the community admins, and the community admins, in fact anybody, so this is not private, this is public, anybody can come to your page here to see what have you marked as not okay. So yeah, this is another tool for reporting bad inappropriate content. So now this is all about, okay, we're trying to list what is possibly inappropriate content, but then what do we do about it? Because we could make a list like till the end of the day, till the end of the century. People can gather a list of things they think are inappropriate, but if we do nothing about it, then it means nothing. Like, there's no point doing this. So what kind of tools do we have against inappropriate contents? So one of the very first thing is that we can mark a sentence as read. So you maybe have stumbled across some sentences before like that, so I'll do this just for example, where it looks like this. So the sentence is all red and there's this warning icon here, which says the sentence is not reliable. So maybe this is a wording we'll need to review someday, but anyway, even if the sentence is technically not is like reliable in the sense like grammatically fine, this is still a mechanism that we can use to signal that there is a problem and that whoever created the sentence needs to think about it, and that we also need to think about it. So what it does when, okay, maybe I shouldn't have, so maybe, yeah, here. So as you can see here, I can translate the sentence, but if I turn it to be red, you notice one thing is the sentence will not be translatable anymore. So yeah, one of the things we can rely on to know if something is really not great and is likely to be deleted is whether it has translations or not by other members of the community. Because I mean, I guess it's it's like common sense that you shouldn't just blindly try to translate every sentences that are provided to you. Obviously, you shouldn't translate any sentence that you feel is like has no value in the corpus. And I mean, I think people will naturally do that anyway. If you see a sentence that you don't like at all, you're not going to spend your time and brain cells trying to translate it, right? So when we see a sentence that is just by itself, has no translation, or just maybe has one translation but translated by the same user, then when it's reported to be inappropriate, it has, we know, okay, there's maybe really something there compared to a sentence that has been translated by 10 different people and then it's reported as inappropriate. Then maybe maybe it's not as inappropriate as the person who made the report thought it was. So that's the first thing. We can mark the sentence as read and then it doesn't get translated. It cannot be more translated. But also, every sentence that is read will not show up by default in the search. So let me revert this. So if we search, I should also remove this. So yeah. So if you search, there is some criteria here, which is unapproved, and by default it will always be on no, meaning that if a sentence is unapproved, meaning if a sentence is read, by default it will not show up. And if you wanted it to show up, you would have to turn this to any or yes. So any will show both unapproved and approved sentence, and yes will show only unapproved sentences. So yeah, that's the second thing. It gives less visibility to the sentence because it doesn't show up in the search, and similarly it doesn't show up in the random sentences that we have on the home page, whether it's for the authenticated user or for the non-authenticated users. So those are the consequences of having a sentence marked as read. And you might ask, okay, well, we can mark sentences as read. We can also delete them. Of course, deletion is a possibility, but I would say it's usually better to mark them as read because, first of all, it creates some sort of immunity against like having the sentence being re-added and re-deleted and re-added, because if we delete them, then nothing stops anybody from creating, or not even from creating a new account, nothing stops anybody from like re-adding the same sentence afterwards. While if we mark it as read, we have a mechanism where we detect duplicate sentences, and so if it's marked as read, it's still there in the database, and we can still detect if somebody tries to add an exact duplicate, and it won't be added again. So as long as it's there and marked as read, I guess it's a little bit more efficient than just deleting and taking the risk that we go through the cycle of, yeah, it's getting deleted and re-added and deleted and re-added, and it's like an endless cycle. It wouldn't make sense, right? So so yeah, so that's the first thing. And the second thing is, when it's read, you could see by yourself, it's very easy to switch back and forth between like having it read and making it normal again. So while it's red, it doesn't mean that it's disappearing completely. It just means like, you know, it's less visible. It has, yeah, it's not exposed anymore as it used to be, but it gives a bit of time for evaluation. So it could be that sometimes we will mark a sentence as read, not necessarily because we know for sure that it's unacceptable, but because we just need time to think and figure out what we should do about it. And so we don't want people to, you know, start translating it and making things more complicated. Just wait and see what we decide in the end. So yeah, there's that. And so yeah, that was the first action we can take. One of the first actions we can take when we find inappropriate content. But this feature of marking a sentence read or not is limited to the admins. So yeah, this is only admins who can switch a sentence between read and not read. So if you find a sentence that was marked as read unfairly, you would have to contact the admins, and if you find sentences that should be marked as read, that should be kind of isolated, you would also have to contact the admins. Maybe one thought would be, one idea would be to extend this permission to not just the admins but also the corpus maintainers. Maybe we can consider that. We'll have to see. But at this point, it's only the admins, so you have to be aware of that. Now, the next step of what kind of actions we can do against inappropriate content is to block a contributor. So probably I'm not gonna do this over here, but and I'm not sure if I should show. I can find like right now real examples of blog contributors, but we can try to do that on the dev website. So yeah, let's take a random user here, and so as admin we can block a contributor. Let's go back to the profile, and they will show up with this little icon here, exclamation mark warning here, to say that they are blocked. So it says contributions blocked, which means that the contributor can still log into their account. They can actually still post comments on the sentences or on the wall, but they cannot create new sentences anymore. They can, however, edit or delete their own sentences. So this is, as you can say, like the next stage of, you know, we've marked some sentences as read, maybe it's not enough, the user continues to flood the corpus with inappropriate content. You can report to the admin, and one of the actions the admins can do is to, if they consider that, you know, the amount that is being contributed is way too much, what they can do is just block the user from creating more sentences. And during this time, so it's not like the contributor is completely banned. So there can still be discussions and explanations about, okay, why are you adding these sentences? And we can try to find a common ground maybe, and and after that, the contributor can simply be unblocked, and from there they can just add sentences normally again. So that is another tool that we have to prevent inappropriate content. And the very last part, which at this stage is not just about the corpus, but if really your behavior is absolutely not manageable for us, then the last resort is to completely ban the users, suspend them, so they cannot log in anymore. But here again, it doesn't have to be like forever. So if we ban somebody, if we suspend somebody, they can still have the possibility to discuss with us and to show us that we did it for the wrong reason. But yeah, I think most of the time so far when we've suspended somebody, it was forever, but there might have been cases where we've let people back. But yeah, so that was basically an overview of the tools that we have to prevent or like to address inappropriate content. So as you can see, it's not like we are defenseless against this. We have some tools. Now the question is, how do we use these tools correctly? That's another question. But we have tools, and the main thing you need to remember is just there are community admins, contact them, and as we receive more and more reports, we can adapt based on how much we have to handle. If there is really too much to handle, then yeah, we will change how Tatweba works in the source code. But until then, I think with everything that we have, all the tools that we have, I think it's enough. We don't need to spend more efforts on this, even if there are things that is not completely straightforward, even if it's not perfect. I think we can rely on the community to explain things to each other, to those who don't know what would be a good process. So just rely on the community itself to use the existing tools in the best possible way. But they are definitely tools. So yeah. So now, after talking about how do you report sentences and what can happen when you report sentences, maybe a few words on to give you an idea of the steps of handling inappropriate content, and I would say actually inappropriate behavior in general. And yeah, because like I said earlier, at the end of the day, inappropriate sentences, inappropriate content, it boils down to the code of conduct. It boils down to inappropriate behavior, because I don't think we can judge if we take a sentence completely objectively in isolation of everything. It doesn't make too much sense to say this sentence is inappropriate for Tatweba, because every sentence have intrinsic linguistic value, and so every sentence, if taken in isolation of everything else, every sentence technically should be worth being part of the corpus. What the problem comes when you actually take the context into account, and so when we try to deal with inappropriate content, the thing is it's not because there are sentences that are impure and we're trying to clean up the corpus from impurities. And yeah, again, we shouldn't, right? To make it very clear, this is not the goal here. We shouldn't exclude a whole range of vocabulary of linguistic data just because it makes people uncomfortable. So what we take actions against whenever we will mark a sentence as read or block a contributor, what we really take action against is inappropriate behavior. And so the way we evaluate inappropriate behavior is really based on the context, right? So as a concrete example, let's say I want to add the sentence "fuck you all." So it's not a nice sentence, but it's a sentence that everyone has said or heard once in their life, right? So now it makes a difference if I'm adding this sentence because there was no sentence before with the word fuck. So it's the first sentence with the word fuck in the Tatweba corpus. So that's one thing. And that's very different if I'm adding this sentence when there's already hundreds of other sentences with the word fuck, and I'm adding it along with like dozens of other provocative sentences, and I'm adding it after I've had arguments with other members of Tatoeba. So you can see it's like very different context in which a sentence is added. The sentence, sure, it has, a little bit of risk of, being interpreted as provocative, but it's different context. And in the first case, well, it would be ridiculous for us to ban, like to censor the sentence. That would I don't think like anyone wants that. And on the second case though, like, it could be that the sentence gets censored, but it's not because we censor the language, it's because it's a signal for us to say, you're crossing the line. This is not acceptable. And so yeah. So again, we don't like try to censor anything. The main thing when we remove, hide sentences, like, put in quarantine sentences, the main point is that we try to prevent a bad behavior from happening over and over again. But besides of that, like our process, if you want the big picture, our process of how we handle inappropriate content is really nothing special. It's like, we detect that there is inappropriate content or inappropriate behavior, then we analyze the situation, and then we take actions based on whatever evidence we have. So there is no way for me to give you rules on like, if this and this and this, then we do this, this and this. What I can tell you is what kind of outcome is possible, which I've already kind of mentioned before. So I guess on the lowest level is probably we just send a warning to the offender. And that might be enough in some cases for them to calm down. If the sentences are really spicy in a way, we can mark them as read, just to avoid like extra translations and making things more complicated. So that's one other thing. Outside of the sentences, actually, we also have all the comments on the sentences and on the wall, which can also be inappropriate. So we have the possibility to hide them. And then we have, as I've said, the possibility to block the user or to suspend the user. So these are the possible outcomes, but how do we get there and when do we choose to do this over something else? It really depends on the situation overall. But yeah, one thing, actually a couple of things I want to make sure people understand about like, the whole process of handling things is that, first of all, the admins are not, patrolling 24/7 in Tatweba to keep things in order. So none of the admins are required to, log in, like check Tatweba every hour or not even every day to see if there's a fight somewhere. So Tatweba does not have paid staff. People do what they do in their free time. So people have jobs, people have school, family, friends, other hobbies. So one thing I hope people understand is that if we haven't taken actions against someone's bad behavior, it doesn't mean necessarily that we tolerate it. It could mean that, first of all, we haven't noticed it because we were just, nobody was monitoring, nobody saw it, it's not like everything is going through verification, so maybe we just missed it. And it could be that we are aware of the issue, but it's a complex issue and it takes more time to resolve, right? So there could be things happening in the back that maybe you're not aware of. So first thing is we could have, as I said, we could have already sent a warning to the offender and trying to understand what's happening there. And we could also just be between ourselves because, one of us in the admin group noticed, okay, this seems a little bit problematic. Do you think we should do something about it? And, we could be discussing about it internally. And while we discussed, we didn't feel appropriate to take any actions yet because we wanted to hear everyone's opinions before that. So yeah, there are reasons why it can take time. Even if you see that there's inappropriate content, inappropriate behavior, it can take time to be handled. So that's the first thing. I hope everybody understands. The second thing is that we are not proactively hunting for bad behavior. So we are not, trying to go back to every, we are not going to go back to sentence number 1 and then, check one by one the sentence to see, oh, is this one good? And then until we find something that is questionable, we tend to wait for people to report it to us. And actually, even if we would see something that is not so nice, I think most of the time we will wait until someone report to us that they are not happy with the situation. So maybe a little bit of context to that is that I guess as we actually have a lot of power, so we have the power to really kick somebody out and not let them in again. And, if it's somebody who has done a lot for Tatoeba, from one day to another, we could have the power to just shut them off from the community. And so we don't want to do these kind of things unfairly, right? And we are aware that we have our own bias. So I think there are some cases where you might see that it's not going very well, that people are starting to throw rocks at each other. But we are not necessarily going to make an intervention right away because maybe it's too early of an intervention. Like maybe for you consider at the first insult, we should right away ban the person and like never let them into the community again. Maybe you think that, but at the end of the day, we're all humans. So people can have bad days, they can do things they wouldn't do usually. If everything was like sunshine and rainbows, there can be misunderstanding and people start to get angry over the misunderstanding because they understood different things. But then if they would clarify, everything's good again. So we're not here to be kindergarten kid teachers, basically. So whenever possible, we're gonna try to let the community resolve whatever problems there is. Actually, that is, if we go back to the code of conduct, that is one of the points that is stated in there, and that I think is good to remind people of. is we encourage members to resolve issues on their own whenever possible before escalating the issue, because we believe this helps build a better understanding between members, which is essential for a healthy community. So if you can resolve a conflict, a disagreement, without having to report to admins, then that's really the first thing you should do. Now, obviously, there are situations where you're not in a situation where you're able to talk to this person without getting super angry and trying to understand their point of view. In those situations, yes, you would contact the admins, but otherwise, it's just an ongoing negotiation, right? So I might today be doing something that you find absolutely inappropriate, but I think is absolutely okay, and it's about having an exchange. You explain to me why it doesn't feel good to you, why it makes you angry, why it makes you frustrated, why it makes you sad, whatever it is that makes you reject my behavior or my contributions, and then I have to do my best to understand and to be, to show empathy towards you. So that's the main things. So yeah, those were the two main things I wanted to clarify about the whole process of handling inappropriate content and inappropriate behavior. Now, last words about more, how do we actually evaluate when something is inappropriate or not? And I mean, I guess we have all some internal algorithm built in ourselves that we are not able to explain, but we can just see when we see a situation, we can just see, okay, that's fine or that's not fine. Maybe sometimes we're biased, okay, but we all have this skill of evaluating, and it's a skill, it's just like, how do you breathe? You maybe not really be able to explain technically in all the how exactly do you breathe, you just know you breathe. But yeah, so it's not always easy to evaluate. Nonetheless, there are a few things we should keep in mind when we try to judge a situation, if it's appropriate or not. And we should remember, the first thing is that based on what is happening, so based on the context, basically, something can be or cannot be inappropriate. So there's a time and a place for everything, right? You can add a sentence that maybe is completely fine at a certain point, but if you add it in another context at another point in time, it can be perceived as inappropriate. So one example I can give is that we had discussions about the usage of the names Tom and Mary in sentences, because there was really a large amount of Tatweba sentences that had Tom and Mary in them, and we felt like this was kind of undermining the diversity of the corpus. So we had a week or two where there was discussions ongoing about this topic, and so you could be there adding sentences that are completely politically correct with Tom and Mary, but if you added them during that period of time, while the community is discussing whether this is a good thing or not, then you can understand that this is a bit questionable of a behavior, right? Even if you were not aware that there was a discussion going on, still your contributions, if somebody saw you contribute, they could perceive it as inappropriate at that specific point in time, even if we didn't pass any policies yet. So, there is some rules of politeness, there is some etiquette that even if a sentence is completely fine, at a certain point, it could become not fine at another point in time because of the whole context. So yeah. Now, obviously, there are for sure sentences that carry more weight for being inappropriate. But at the end of the day, it's all about the context. All right. So I think I'm almost done. I think there was one last point I wanted to share. Right. About, okay, so the last point, I guess, is, well, it's a personal opinion, but I'll share it nonetheless, is that I think we have to remember that, I mean, Tatweba is not a place where we will judge people on what they believe, right? So when people write sentences, what they will do usually is that they will write sentences that kind of reflect their beliefs. It's hard to bypass that, right? So to create content, you have to take a part of yourself and create content. Like every content that you create is a reflection of yourself. So when people write sentences, it will reflect somehow their beliefs, their lives, their history, their experience. And this is how it can happen, obviously, that some sentences that, you know, you might consider, okay, they're not scientifically correct, they're not historically correct, they're not politically correct. There's a lot of things not correct about them, but this is how it works. It's like the act of creating sentences, people have to, you know, the source is yourself, and whatever you write is just an expression of yourself, and that's the easiest way, one of the easy way for people to create sentences. And so we are not here to, I think it's good to remind that we're not here in Tatweba to try to judge what is okay, before I finish, I need more water, I think. All right, so yeah, I was saying, Tatweba is not a place, I mean, it's not our vocation to judge what is a good belief, what is a wrong belief, right? People can believe what they want to believe. So you can believe that the earth is a cube, that mankind evolved from cats, that vaccines don't help the immune system but boost your IQ. You can believe whatever you want, right? It's not our place in Tatweba to say you are wrong to believe that. And I think so that's one thing we should be careful. If anyone is coming across sentences which they find to be you know, scientifically, historically, politically incorrect, whatever, it's not like the first reaction shouldn't be that's wrong, we should remove that. So that's one thing we should remember. But then the other side of this is like, okay, we should be as open-minded as possible of people's beliefs. But if you are trying to add sentences which are just overly kind of making us feel like you are trying to do a propaganda about your own beliefs, then that is where things start to get uncomfortable. So again, this is where there is no right and wrong, but it's where we have to find the right balance, where we should be open-minded enough that we can allow people the space to, you know, be authentic. because this is what gives the flavor to the Tatweba corpus. Like, it doesn't feel like it's completely bland, like it's like a bunch of robots writing sentences. It's like actual humans with emotions who write sentences. So we should try to keep the spice there, but then you don't want like to overspice it. You don't want something to become so salty that it's unbearable, right? So when you are adding sentences that reflect your beliefs, I hope that if you get a little bit of pushback from the community, that you also take a moment to understand what is happening, and instead of just calling, Tatoeba is a place where, you know, people are against freedom of expression, all that kind of things, you take a moment to think what you are doing here and why this is agitating the rest of the community, because there is definitely a way where you can, you know, create sentences that that have some sort of emotional value to you and put them into the corpus while not offending the rest of the world. There is definitely a way to do that. Right. So yeah, I guess in short, I just really want to encourage people to try to be understanding of each other, and, you know, instead of just getting angry and offended right off the bat, just try to understand each other first. That's really the main message here. So somebody says in the chat, I think all you can do here is to deny responsibility for possible members' opinion and expressions, because eventually there are people who do want to judge each other, and all. So yeah, there will always be people who will want to judge others, but I don't think that's a good strategy. If we want to build a place where people can collaborate and, you know, can be motivated and can find fulfillment in participating in this project, we shouldn't judge each other based on our beliefs. And also, Tatweba is absolutely not the place to discuss your beliefs. Like, it's not. We are not trying to be an authority on what is true and what is not true, and what is right and what is wrong. So yeah, any discussion that derails into typically talking about whether man landed on the moon or not, or whether the Holocaust happened or not, or these kind of things, obviously this has no place in Tatweba. So I hope that's clear and that makes sense for everyone. Okay, so that was my very long insight into the whole topic of inappropriate content and inappropriate behavior. The last thing I want to say is, of course, there's a lot of things that we can improve, but again, it's not going to just happen if we just sit down and wish for it. So if you want to make Tatoeba a better place, you are absolutely welcome to join and help. And if you don't know where to start, how to start, what to do, just feel free to contact me, especially if you have ideas on this topic of, you know, making the community more of a healthy community. This is definitely, I think it's an important topic. It's not a topic for which I want to dedicate my energy, because it's a lot, it drains a lot of energy, and I will need it for many other things. So yeah, but still, important topic, and we always, yeah, for everything we need help. If you want to help on that, feel free to contact me. So it's been almost 2 hours, but this is going to be a little bit of a longer stream today. So I've talked for almost 2 hours. But I wanted to take the time to implement a little something live, and at the same time to just teach people about how the code is structured, because it's probably not a very hard, maybe two things even, but we'll see. So let me show you. If we go to the dev website, oops. So dev website. Right. So as I've explained, so let's say this thread is going out of control, and we need to put a stop at it. Admins have the possibility to hide comments. So now, once this is hidden, so this is still visible to the admins, but if we go into incognito, and we look at it from this point of view, so you see that the comment over here, you don't know what is the content anymore. All you will see is that the content of this message goes against our rules, and therefore it was hidden. Now there is one bug. First of all, is that for some reason this first comment over here is hidden. The rest of the child comments, they are not hidden, but yet they are displayed in red, so it's a bit confusing. So that's a bug. So the way it works in Tatweba currently, at least, is that if the root comment, the root message is hidden, it doesn't, it doesn't invalidate everything below. So if there's a whole thread of comments, of messages that are inappropriate, the admins will have to hide them one by one. Obviously, it can be a practical feature to have if I hide this first comment here, everything below is hidden. That could be practical, but it's a little bit tricky to implement. So that's not what we are going to do today. What we are going to do today is something else that was mentioned about the way we display this, is that yeah, maybe let's go back over here. We could hide everything for the sake of it. So yeah, so here you see exactly what community admin looks like. I mean, doing community admin task looks like in action. So clicking one by one the messages, and so then it looks like that. All the content here is hidden. But one thing that is maybe not so nice is that when we hide the content, somehow we only hide the content itself, but the username is still there. And yeah, the point is, what I want to do today is that instead of us hiding just the content itself, we actually, when something is hidden, we might as well also hide whoever added it. So here, I guess, especially in the case where, you might be, so let's say CK here just made some legit comment that maybe didn't need completely to be hidden, but for the sake of fairness, we just decided, okay, we're just going to hide the whole thread here. And that's could be unfair if it's like marking them as having done something bad, even though technically they haven't really. So I think it's not a bad thing if instead of hiding just the comment, we also completely hide the other information, that is the name of the authors. So we're gonna try to implement that because I think that shouldn't be like crazy difficult to figure out, but you will also see at the same time that it's not completely, like, it's not an instant easy thing to do. So let's switch. And let's start the Tatweba locally. Alright, so okay, so what we do usually, and what I do at the start, is make sure that my repository is up to date. Oh, what is happening? So I have nothing here, but I don't think I have anything, so I'm not sure why this is actually rejecting my git pull. Okay. Strange. Okay, never mind. So maybe a temporary thing. Okay, so I am up to date over here. And so first thing is we're gonna run this locally. And I'm gonna open the source code in the meantime. Okay, so yeah, so now things are running. We can check that by going to the local website. So yeah, this is running, and we can log in. So yeah, we can log in with the contributor, and since we are testing stuff about the wall, we're gonna create some comments, so we can try to create comments with different users. So let's say, for instance, this person is angry for some reason, and write some not so nice comments. And then obviously it derails, right? So then from here we have an admin who's saying, okay, this is not so nice, so we don't want this. And actually, yeah, maybe we can, I don't know, maybe we do that another time. We could try to check why it shows in red, but let's just have this for now. So okay, right, so basically, yeah, the idea here is we somehow want to maybe so the first question, so here is when you see that you know, an idea in itself is nice, but then once you have to implement the ideas, then a lot of questions can come up. So the first question is should we actually even display anything at all? Maybe yes. So for the sake of not deviating too much from the original design, I would say yes, we can still display this, but we can try to find another way to display, or some ways to remove this. So how would we do that? I don't know yet. But what we can do is start experimenting nonetheless. So we have to figure out what part of the code is involved into the logic of what is displayed here. So I mean, there are several ways to do it. Probably one of the quickest way is we know that at some point it has to show this string here, and we can try to search it into the code. So we want to exclude any file that is ending with a .po extension, because yeah, those are translation files, it's not actual source codes, but we can find it in two places. So first place is the comment.ctp file, and the other place is the message. So yeah, there will be two places, but we can start with the one on the wall. And so if we look a little bit at the path of where this file is located, we see that it's inside this wall folder, so very much we can assume that this is the file that takes care of displaying this part here. And if we want to be very sure, we can add probably test over here, and yeah, and we see test string appearing over here, so we know that we are in the correct file. So the next step is we have to figure out what to display, when to display. So we can see here there's already a condition, if message hidden. So yeah, this conditions is going to be the condition that we want to use for the part where the username is displayed. So the username at the moment is displayed all the time. And okay, we can just take this line of code here. We have to figure out where the username is displayed. So if we kind of look around, we see here username. So these lines of code over here, they are meant for actually up to over here, this whole part. They are meant to display the username, and below here we have a date tooltip. So this block over here is for the dates. All right. So yeah, I guess we don't care too much if it's written from a member. But maybe if we want to have the same for everyone, Well, we can try to add things at this level here. We can try to follow the same syntax over here. So if we want the message to be, if it's not hidden, we will display, and if it's hidden, I guess we display nothing at all. So here I've made some changes in the code. I don't know how it. So I'm not a compiler. I don't have a compiler in my head, but yeah, as we can see with this if, so when the message is hidden, the name of the user has disappeared. Now, however, we still have the avatar, the profile picture, so we don't exactly want that either. And for that, so I don't know if it's going to mess up with the whole layout of this part, but we'll try. We can add these ifs around here, and yeah, okay, so maybe not the best the best design, but I guess that works out. So what we notice as well as when the message is hidden, actually it doesn't show up here in the latest message, so it doesn't kind of get promoted, and yeah, it's not going to show up on the home page either. It doesn't show up, so nothing to worry about in these areas. Now if we just try to unhide and see what it looks like, yeah, then here it's still displayed normally, so we are fine. Then the next part is for the comments, so there is no comments yet in my local database. Let's try it out. Testing. Yeah, so I can hide my own messages. Here, if we go to that sentence, so we see this looks like this, and we probably want to give it the same fate as for the messages on the wall, so it's going to be a little bit of copy paste, except we have to use a little bit of a different condition, because here it's comment hidden and not message hidden. So then again we have to find where the username is displayed, which is here, and the avatar is over here. So yeah, I guess we can use the same syntax as here. I just have to replace the variable. If comment hidden, and okay. Alright, so that would be the modification for the comments, and we can have a look. Right, actually, yeah, now comes the next part, is even though we don't show it, actually we should still show the information if I'm an admin viewing this, or if I'm the user themselves. So then it becomes a little bit more complicated. So we have to detect if the current user is also the owner of the comments, the author of the comments. So sentence owner, this is not what we want to use. Comments. Okay, here we should probably use well, there's this probably another condition somewhere that shows or not the text. So let's see how we check that. Can view contents. So we have already a variable over here. Yeah, which checks what we need to check. So basically we have to put the same condition. Oops. So we put that over here and same over here. Okay, so as admin here, I can still see basically everything. All I have extra is like this block over here, and that my comment becomes red. And if I'm here, so not authenticated at all, then I don't see anything. If I'm logging in as another user, like a contributor, I also don't see anything. So that is good. Yeah, and we get the same conditions basically on the wall. So like this here and like this here. Okay, so back to the wall. So yeah, as we can see here, I don't see the comment from the other person anymore up here. I can still see mine. Technically, I can edit mine, or I can delete mine. But yeah, so that is okay. And if somebody is completely logged out and look at the threads, they just see that there has been a little fight over here, and yeah, but no need to focus on that, just moving on. So that's it. So that's basically one example of simple changes that you could contribute if you find out, little things like this in Tatweba, which you feel it would be better if it was slightly different. So that took me 20 minutes, but obviously, like I'm very knowledgeable in the source code, but this is kind of there's like many small tasks like this that that you can help with. So obviously what I did here is not finished. So this is just, I've modified the code, I've tested locally that it makes things look like the way that I want it to look like. Maybe this is not the best design overall, but I think that's good enough. So the next step is to push the code. So yeah, so when I started here, I didn't create any branch, but and in this case, there's no GitHub ticket related to it, so I'll just create a branch with whatever name I can come up with. So to do that, git branch, git checkout, sorry, my keyboard is not very cooperative, so I need to type slowly. Let's call it hidden messages username, something like that. So now we have a branch over here, and so yeah, what I'm showing here, I guess on your side it's not going to be 100% totally the same, like in terms of, at least what I've shown in terms of like updating, like to be up to date with the latest code of Tatweba. So for me, because I'm here plugged directly to the main Tatweba repository, I just do a git pull, and then I just do things directly in the main repository. I don't have things set up in a way that I have a fork, but you can have a look at some of the previous streams. I can't remember which one exactly, but some of the previous streams we show the process of installing Tatweba. That's maybe the first stream. The process of installing Tatweba and of like setting up a fork of Tatweba so that you can show. But yeah, so for me, again, I'm directly contributing to this official repository, which is under the Tatweba organization here. But when people do a pull request, they will normally make a fork of the repository. And so when people have a fork, I mean, actually I can go through one of the pull requests and check for our developer here, Yorba, if I can get to his profile somehow. Oh yeah, so in his profile he will have this repository here, and you can see this is not under Tatweba anymore, but it's under his personal account. And so yeah, so when you contribute, it's going to be like the things I showed at first are going to be a little bit different, but here the process of creating a branch, that is part of what you should do ideally when you when you contribute code. So there is some feature that you want to change something, you create a branch, you change things. So in my case, I changed things first, and now I'm creating a branch. Yeah, that's the order here, doesn't matter, but the main thing is whatever you changed should be committed into that branch. So what we're going to do now is we're going to commit okay, so then we put a little message to mention what we've done here. So here we are hiding the username on hidden comments. Alright. So, right, if we look at the history, so we have, yeah, the commit before was this one, now we have this new commit, which we want to, yeah, we want to push the branch actually. So, for me, yeah, and for you as well, you can just start typing git push and it will, unless you created first the branch from the UI on GitHub, it will have a little bit of a message to say yeah, cannot push, and it will just provide right away the correct commands. So if I do this, okay, and now I've pushed, and after I've pushed, you also notice that it gives you a URL to open a pull request. Yeah, but I've pushed, and if we go have a look at over here, yeah, I see that I have a new branch, and the remaining part is to create the pull request. So I'm not going to create it today. I think we don't need to drag this too long, but the branch is there and we can have a pull request for it. So maybe the next thing, since I guess I could spend like 10 minutes to check why this is red when it shouldn't be red. Yeah, so here we can maybe have a look at the CSS. Okay, so the CSS for this says that anything that is command.inappropriate content. Okay, so I guess because if we look at, so this is the, yeah, it depends how things are imbricated into each other. So we have this whole block over here, which has the class inappropriate and comment. Right. And the thing is, so everything that is in this block, so everything that is in blue on the page over here, that is like kind of highlighted in blue, is in this block comment.inappropriate, and then yeah, every content div or paragraph or whatever will be applied with these CSS rules. While we only want, at the end of the day, we only want the one that is the first one. So how might we change that? Let's have a look. Content. Yes, it's not a direct child. I don't completely remember how to CSS there. So that would be this. It would not even be, no, it's the, okay, it's the content which is in the, so it's like not one of the direct childs, it's like inside the M card content. So okay, I guess that's what we can use as a step in between. We can try that. So we have to find these rules in our CSS again by looking from the browser. We figured out this is the path. I mean the CSS. I don't know how to call it. The identifier, and we can find the rule over here. So just to make sure that we have the correct rule, let's say we change it to pink. Yeah, maybe pink is not going to make a whole lot of difference visually. Say blue. So I think that's maybe not enough. Maybe we have to regenerate. We have to regenerate the CSS, because this is, or maybe there's something to deactivate. I kind of forgot, to be honest, but what we're just gonna do is we're going to SSH into the VM. So with vagrant SSH. Going to the Tatweba folder inside the VM and regenerate the assets. So here as well, I kind of forgot what's the command exactly, but we have that documented somewhere, so I'll just go there. This one here. All right. So back to our example here. Yeah. So I change to blue, it becomes blue, so we are in the correct file. So yeah, we figured out this path here is not the correct one. And that's maybe we can use this. I have no idea if it's gonna work as intended, but let's try. We have in between this card content. So card content, and then the content inside of that. Yeah, then I have to regenerate again because I changed the CSS. Not the most practical, so but okay, so still not exactly that. I think that, yeah, I think there's still a little bit more to do. Maybe like this, so that we have the direct. I think this is this little arrow symbol. I don't remember the name of the symbol in English. Okay. Okay, I think that looks more like it. So yeah, if you are also an expert in CSS, there's probably a bunch of little things here and there that you can help, but I guess that looks like the fix for it, so maybe I'll commit it to the same branch actually as a bug fix for this. That yeah, it doesn't make sense if the rest, because it could happen in some cases that we have a message in between that maybe is not deserving of being hidden, so we might unhide it, and it wouldn't make sense that it's displayed in red. Obviously I should revert the color to red before I go forward. So that was the color here. Okay, let's just copy this line, revert all of this, and copy this line back. Okay, so So yeah, then we have the second fix. Was not too long to figure out. So we want to make another commit. And here we are. How can I phrase it? Prevent okay, fix color of non-hidden all messages. Yeah, we don't want a too long message, but so okay, I usually don't use command lines to write longer comments, so I'm just going to pop up my Git UI so that I can craft a little bit more of an elaborate comment. So let's take again the text here, and yeah, just when a message was a child of a hidden message, it was displayed in red, even if it was not hidden. So we are just to give a little bit more of context about what was the bug there. And yeah, and so we can push this one. And that's it. So you have basically a little bit of an idea of what it is to do some minor changes in the source code. So this is like basically how I contribute to Tatweba whenever I have time. I mean, I haven't for a long time, to be honest. I haven't really contributed. So somebody tells me you could use a regular Git commit without the emp flag. Okay. Yeah, I usually, to be honest, when I write commit messages, I do it from the UI, not from the command line. Sometimes I will use the command line if I don't want to open extra software, but that's noted. Thanks for the tip. Somebody actually before, sorry if I'm not checking the chat like live, but somebody is asking, could you do a live Q&A? Yes, I could do a live Q&A, but then the next question is, does anyone use aluminum foil? I'm not sure what was this question for. Anyway, so yeah, for the idea of live Q&A, yes, definitely, I can do a live Q&A one day. If people are interested, but for the moment, yeah, there was just this one topic here. Today there was just this one topic that I kind of started talking about some time ago, like a couple of weeks ago, and I wanted to provide a more organized thoughts on it, and then yeah. But definitely I'll keep that in mind to do a Q&A. But the next Tatweba stream I think is more going to be about like I planned an interview with one of the members of Tatweba, so we're going to try to have this one stream where it's just about me interviewing a member of Tatweba, so that's, you know, you can get to have someone's insights that is not me, someone else insights on Tatweba, how they contribute to Tatweba, why they contribute. And yeah, so my cat, so I have two cats actually. This cat is called Shiva. All right. So yeah, I think we're good to stop for today. This was a longer stream than usual, but I hope you enjoyed. I hope you found it educational. Again, I'll repeat this. If anybody wants to join me one of these days in a stream to try to fix things together with me. So for me, ideally, I would like that I could maybe not touch the code ever again. Not that I don't like it, but if we can set up a team within Tatweba where when something needs to be changed in Tatweba, where there's some bug, it doesn't have to be just, I'm not like the only person who can do this. That would be great. And so at the moment, I would say we do have one developer who's doing stuff, who's like helping with the codes, and that is Yorba. So he's, I guess, currently our most active developer. So because you've seen that he's done a bunch of pull requests. We have also Gilux, who is like a very prominent developer. He was also of only paid official staff of Tatoeba, but just as a temporary contract. We don't have like infinite income, but there were some years where we had a bit of income and we could afford to pay for somebody to actually like work for real for us. But right now everybody is a volunteer. But he's still outside of that. He has still been contributing. So I would say, we are basically 3 developers at the moment, but all of us have a life, have a job, have other things to do. This is not things we do 100% of the time. So yeah, if there's more people who can join in and who want to join in, for me, I'm actually happy if all I'm doing is have a look, like just testing the pull request, just test if functionally they are fine or not. And then like, other people can just talk about the code, like can review the code and make sure the code is clean and without bugs and stuff like that. So if I could step away as much as possible from the code, I'd be happy actually. I still enjoy coding personally. I like it, and I probably won't stop like suddenly, because there are still a few things I want to work on, and I hope I get to just have a stream where I show these things, especially when it comes to like the UI part. But in general, we have all these tickets, right? And even if technically I probably can solve maybe 90%, at least 90% of these tickets, probably. Okay, maybe 80% if we want to be safe, but yeah, I can solve probably a lot of these tickets, but that is not that is not really the plan I have for my life, to spend all my free time solving this. So this needs to be a collaborative effort. If you want to join development, I'm very happy to onboard you. And yeah, so what is my job besides Tatoeba? I work actually for an insurance company. So I would say my job is kind of boring, like nothing really exciting. But I work. I worked as a developer, but now I guess I'm more transitioning towards new rules. But I used to work for as a developer for an insurance company, and I'm still there. Well, not exactly an insurance company, but let's say the IT the IT branch kind of an insurance company. So yeah, that's my job. Okay. So I think that's all for today, and I think the last thing I will do is that I will delay the next milestone. So obviously that happens. We plan things and then we don't really have time. I think I've spent enough time for Tatweba today, so I'm gonna change this milestone here, but I have to be logged in. Edit. So again, yeah, I'm actually thinking to just delay for 1 week because we don't really have anything super urgent in there. Yeah, let's just put it next week actually. So yeah, so okay, one more question before we stop the stream. Somebody is very eager to ask questions, but yeah, so I promise I can make a Q&A sometime. But yeah, so last question is who made the Tatweba logo? So this is actually, it was a friend of mine in university back then. So this logo is here for a pretty long time, but it was a friend from university who made the logo and we kept it ever since. Okay. So somebody says, thank you for everything you do. Tatweba is a wonderful resource. So thank you very much for the encouraging words. So again, I hope it was a educational and insightful stream for everyone. Yeah, so we're gonna end for today and see you around for next stream. Bye bye and take care.